The American Civil War was a 4-year war fought between the United States and 11 southern states that seceded from the Union and formed the Confederate States of America. Here is a brief summary of the war. The main causes of the war were the conflict over slavery and states' rights, as well as the expansion of slavery into the Western territories. Some of the major battles of the war were Fort Sumter, Antietam, Gettysburg, and Appomattox. The war resulted in the abolition of slavery, the preservation of the United States as one nation, and the beginning of the Reconstruction era. The war was the deadliest in American history, with an estimated 620,000 soldiers killed and millions more wounded or displaced. The war started because of uncompromising differences between the free and slave states over the power of the national government to prohibit slavery in the territories that had not yet become states. When Abraham Lincoln won election in 1860 as the first Republican president on a platform pledging to keep slavery out of the territories, 7 slave states in the Deep South seceded and formed a new nation, the Confederate States of America. The incoming Lincoln administration and most of the Northern people refused to recognize the legitimacy of secession. They feared that it would discredit democracy and create a fatal precedent that would eventually fragment the no longer United States into several small, squabbling countries. The event that triggered war came at Fort Sumter in Charleston Bay on April 12, 1861. Claiming this United States fort as their own, the Confederate Army on that day opened fire on the Federal garrison and forced it to lower the American flag in surrender. Lincoln called out the militia to suppress this insurrection. 4 more slave states seceded and joined the Confederacy. By the end of 1861, nearly 1 million armed men confronted each other along a line stretching 1,200 miles from Virginia to Missouri. Several battles had already taken place, near Manassas Junction in Virginia, in the mountains of western Virginia where Union victories paved the way for creation of the new state of West Virginia. At Wilson's Creek in Missouri, at Cape Hatteras in North Carolina, and at Port Royal in South Carolina where the Union Navy established a base for a blockade to shut off the Confederacy's access to the outside world. The first major battle of the war was fought at Bull Run near Manassas Junction on July 21, 1861. The Confederates won a surprise victory and sent the Union forces into a chaotic retreat. This battle showed that the war would not be a quick and easy affair, as many had hoped. Both sides began to prepare for a long and bloody struggle. The Union's main strategy was to use its superior numbers and resources to blockade the southern coast, capture the Confederate capital of Richmond, and gain control of the Mississippi River, thus cutting the Confederacy in half. The Confederacy's main strategy was to defend its territory and hope for foreign recognition and intervention, or for the Northern public to lose the will to fight. The war saw many changes in military technology and tactics, such as the use of ironclads, submarines, railroads, telegraphs, and trench warfare. The war also witnessed some of the most famous and bloody battles in American history, such as Shiloh, Antietam, Chancellorsville, Gettysburg, Vicksburg, and Chickamauga. The war also had a profound impact on the home front, as both sides mobilized their economies, societies, and politics to support the war effort. The war also raised many issues of civil liberties, such as the suspension of habeas corpus, the draft, and the emancipation of slaves. The war ended in 1865 with the surrender of the Confederate armies, after a series of Union victories that culminated in the capture of Atlanta, Sherman's march to the sea, and the siege of Petersburg. The last major Confederate army under Robert E. Lee surrendered at Appomattox Courthouse on April 9, 1865. The war left the South devastated and impoverished, and the nation deeply divided and traumatized.